Pakistan just made a move that has South Africa's leadership scrambling for answers. While the world watches cricket matches between these nations, a far more significant battle is unfolding behind closed doors. This isn't about sports, this is about Pakistan positioning itself as Africa's new strategic partner, and it's changing everything. What you're about to discover will reshape how you see Pakistan's role in Africa's future. We are talking about billion-dollar deals, military partnerships, and diplomatic strategies that could redefine South-South cooperation. The mainstream media won't tell you this story because it doesn't fit their narrative about who gets to influence Africa's development. Let me break down what's really happening between Pakistan and South Africa, and why this matters for every African watching this video. To understand today's developments, we need to go back to 1994. When South Africa emerged from apartheid, Pakistan was among the first nations to strengthen diplomatic ties with the new Rainbow Nation. But this wasn't just symbolic solidarity. Pakistan saw an opportunity to build genuine South-South partnerships based on mutual respect, not the extractive relationships Africa had endured for centuries. By 2010, Pakistan-South Africa trade had grown to over $400 million annually. That's real money flowing between two developing nations, proving that Africa doesn't need Western middlemen to prosper. Pakistan brought expertise in textiles, agriculture, and defense technology. South Africa offered mineral wealth, advanced manufacturing, and a gateway to the broader African market. The cricket rivalry everyone talks about. That's actually been a blessing in disguise. Sports diplomacy opened doors that formal negotiations couldn't. When Pakistani and South African teams compete, millions of people in both nations pay attention. Smart leaders use this attention to build deeper economic and cultural connections. But here's what the global media missed: while everyone focused on match results, Pakistani businesses quietly established manufacturing hubs in South Africa's industrial provinces. Like this video if you want more Africans to see how these partnerships actually work in practice. Fast forward to 2024, and we are witnessing something unprecedented. Pakistan's new government has launched what they are calling the African Renaissance Partnership. This isn't charity or aid, this is Pakistan betting big on Africa's economic future. The numbers are staggering. Pakistan just committed $2.8 billion in infrastructure investments across southern Africa, with South Africa as the regional hub. We are talking about solar energy projects that could power entire provinces, textile factories that will employ thousands of South Africans, and agricultural technology that's already increasing crop yields by 35% in pilot programs. But here's the game changer: Pakistan is offering something the West never has: genuine technology transfer. Pakistani engineers aren't just building this project and leaving. They are training South African technicians, sharing blueprints, and ensuring knowledge stays on the continent. The military dimension is equally significant. Pakistan's defense industry, battle-tested and cost-effective, is partnering with South Africa's arms manufacturers. This isn't about conflict, it's about ensuring African nations can defend their sovereignty without depending on expensive Western weapon systems. Recent diplomatic cables reveal that South African President Cyril Ramaphosa personally requested Pakistani expertise in 3 critical areas: renewable energy, water management, and cybersecurity. These are the technologies that will determine Africa's competitiveness in the next decade. The key players driving this transformation tell a fascinating story. On the Pakistani side, we have Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, who sees Africa as Pakistan's natural partner in reshaping global power dynamics. His vision: a network of developing nations that trade with each other, invest in each other, and defend each other's interests. South Africa's International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor has been equally vocal about the need for new partnerships. At the recent BRICS summit, she specifically praised Pakistan's approach as respectful, sustainable, and mutually beneficial. That's diplomatic language for, finally, a partner that doesn't treat us like a colony. But the real power brokers are the business leaders. Pakistani textile giant Nishot Mills just announced a $400 million manufacturing complex in KwaZulu-Natal. This single project will create 8,000 direct jobs and support 25,000 indirect jobs. These aren't temporary construction jobs, these are permanent, skilled positions that build generational wealth. South African mining conglomerate Anglo American is reciprocating with major investments in Pakistan's Balochistan province, bringing advanced extraction technologies that increase efficiency while reducing environmental impact. Subscribe for honest, Pan-African analysis you won't find on CNN or BBC, because they don't want you to know how Africa is building prosperity without Western gatekeepers. This Pakistan-South Africa partnership represents something bigger than bilateral trade. It's proof that Africa can choose its own partners, negotiate from strength, and build relationships based on equality rather than dependence. Think about what this means for the continent's future. When African nations trade with Pakistan, the profits stay in the global south. When Pakistani companies invest in African infrastructure, they are not extracting resources, they are building capacity. This is how real development happens. The timing couldn't be better. As Western nations struggle with inflation and recession, Pakistan and South Africa are demonstrating that South-South cooperation offers a path to shared prosperity. The World Bank's latest report shows that trade between developing nations is growing 3 times faster than North-South trade. Pakistan brings 230 million consumers and advanced manufacturing capabilities. South Africa offers 60 million people, vast natural resources, and the most sophisticated financial markets on the continent. Together, they are creating an economic bloc that commands global attention and respect. But perhaps most importantly, this partnership is inspiring other African nations to look beyond traditional Western partners. Nigeria is already exploring similar agreements with Pakistan. Kenya has sent trade delegations to Karachi. Even smaller nations like Ghana and Senegal are studying the Pakistan-South Africa model. The geopolitical implications are profound. For decades, Africa's economic relationships were dictated by former colonial powers and Cold War superpowers. Pakistan's success in building genuine partnerships with African nations shows there's another way forward. This isn't about choosing sides in great power competition. It's about Africa having more options, better terms, and real partnerships that respect our sovereignty and dignity. When Africa has multiple partners competing for our business, we negotiate from strength. Looking ahead, this Pakistan-South Africa axis could become a model for how developing nations build prosperity together. The early results are promising: increased trade, technology transfer, job creation, and genuine cooperation on equal terms. What comes next will depend partly on how other African leaders respond to this opportunity. Will they embrace new partnerships that offer better terms than traditional donors? Will they follow South Africa's lead in diversifying economic relationships? The answer will shape Africa's trajectory for the next generation. This Pakistan-South Africa partnership proves that Africa doesn't need to choose between East and West. We can build our own networks of mutual prosperity and respect. Check out this next video where we examine how Nigeria is following South Africa's example in building new partnerships with Asian economies. The results will surprise you. What's your take on Pakistan's growing influence in African affairs? Do you see this as a positive development for South-South cooperation? Comment your thoughts below. I read every response, and your perspectives help shape future videos on African development strategies.